All right, first off, a little mash note to all of you. Just recently, we reached 5,000 subscribers, which in and of itself is fantastic. But what's more overwhelming for me is the level of engagement that goes on here in the comments below. I appreciate everyone who lends their voice to the comment section. And I know, mentioning it here in a book review, which is traditionally less watched, I'm condemning the comment section to crickets and awkward silence, but nonetheless, it bears mentioning. Thanks to all of you that have answered my somewhat tangential questions, whether it be about podcasts, university advice, or childhood foods. I appreciate all of your sort of personal experiences, your dissenting opinions, and your hard-won advice. I know, even for myself, it can sometimes be hard to lend your voice to the comments section. So I appreciate everyone here who does that. I will endeavor to keep making content that warrants your input. But enough of that. On to the book review. I just finished John Boyne's The Heart's Invisible Furies. It was after a glowing review from Liberty Hardy over at All the Books podcast. Now, Liberty, of course, is my bookish patronus, my Nancy Pearl 2.0. So her recommendation and saying that this is perhaps her favorite book of 2017 was enough for me to put my misgivings aside, not the least of which the sheer size of this book, weighing in at nearly 600 pages, but the brown paper bag of a cover that makes it look like a memoir of a literary butcher. I imagine this swarthy fellow in a bloodstained apron quoting Auden as he slices your capicola. Now, rest assured, this book is not about that. Instead, when the book opens, it's 1945 and we're in the small Irish town of Goleen. 16-year-old Katherine Goggin is clearly pregnant and brought up to the front of her church parish to be loudly denounced and violently cast out. Katherine refuses to name the father and, head held high, boards a bus for Dublin with no real plan. Relying on the kindness of strangers, she finds a place to stay in gainful employment despite her obvious predicament. And it all comes to this roiling climax as she's giving birth to her son. The writing is vivid and affecting, and I can't wait to spend more time with this fiercely independent woman. And then Katherine disappears. Now, she's not gone entirely. She keeps popping up in the periphery of the story, just in the background. She's basically Abed delivering a child while Jeff Winger contemplates his mortality. That's right, The Heart's Invisible Furies is basically the season 2 episode of Community called The Psychology of Letting Go. And in this case, our Jeff Winger is played by Cyril Avery. It's the adopted son of Katherine Goggins, who's suddenly foregrounded in the story. I found myself wishing I could hear more about the indomitable spirit of Katherine Goggin, but instead we get the conflicted and tortured Cyril Avery, hot mess, and maker of heroically bad decisions, Cyril Avery. Bad decisions, the type of which leave you wanting to throw the book across the room. But I couldn't stop reading. John Boyne is a maestro at readerly manipulation. Kudos to him, too, given the nearly impossible task set out before him. I imagine his muse just frankly straight up trolling him, saying things like, "Okay, John, you've had a small degree of success. Your book, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, turned into a movie. Did okay. Now, granted, you're not a household word, but you're no slouch either. So for this, your 10th adult novel, I want you to tackle something a little bit closer to home, something a little bit more personal, something like growing up gay in Catholic Ireland, where homosexuality was actually considered illegal up until as recently as 1993. Sure, since then, 2015, Ireland has legalized same-sex marriage and more recently elected its first openly gay prime minister. And it's amazing to think how much has changed in a single lifetime. So I think the world is ready to hear this type of story. So I'm going to need you to talk about homophobia and hypocrisy, gay bashing, male prostitution, beards, the AIDS epidemic, being closeted, childhood repression, unrequited crushes, cruising, rent boys, dating. I want it to be about being gay without being gay, if you know what I mean. And can we throw in some kidnappings, murders, mutilations, dead priests, late night body disposals, and death by beating, stabbing, and what the hell, toppled statuary. But I want it to be funny. Keep it light. Doesn't want to be a slog at all. But I'm no monster. Take as many pages as you like. An impossible task, one that should result in an unreadable mess. I mean, it's a lot to ask, even if you have 600 pages to roll around it, but Boyne pulls it off. But first things first, Cyril Avery, after enduring decades of searing discrimination, a childhood devoid of physical contact and touch, a stepmother that barely acknowledged his presence, hiding behind this cloud of cigarette smoke, and a stepfather that could barely tolerate him having the family name, constantly reminding him, "You're not a real Avery." the sexual repression of adolescence, growing up into a young adult and having sexual relations that number in the hundreds, but nothing more than this furtive release in washrooms and back alleys. How that Cyril Avery didn't become a seething ball of anger or wallowing in a pit of despair and self-loathing is an accomplishment. But Boyne manages to avoid misery porn, and that's often to his detriment. You'll be reading, maintaining this nice little rhythm, and then there'll be a plot point or a turn of phrase that just jolts you out of that. Boyne can be almost jarring with his insertion of humor and levity, but I get it. And in the end, I finish the book and I'm crying. I'm having this Michael Kindness clutch-worthy moment, hugging the book to my chest, feeling almost angry how clearly I've been manipulated to get to that ending, and yet feeling that ending nonetheless. It's a hell of a journey, but Boyne manages to stick that landing. Wow, it feels like it's been a long time since I've done a book review. I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. It is going to be crazy. Our daughter will be back from university for Thanksgiving weekend, which is what it is here in Canada, and it's also hers and my birthday weekend. So craziness for sure. And so after acknowledging how much I appreciate your comments, I feel like I need to leave you with a question of some sort. And with this weekend being a celebratory Thanksgiving birthday weekend, I want to know what you want for your birthday. 2 rules. 1, can't be books. And 2, it has to have a price tag. It can't be something ephemeral like world peace or having the family together for a big meal. No, dollar value, and it has to be an indulgent purchase that you perhaps wouldn't make for yourself, but would love if someone got for you. I'd love to hear your answers in the comments below. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a great week of reading, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.